Thank you for joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into Season 1, Episode 9, Home.
How did you feel about this episode? Actually, no, you have an announcement before we start. Laura's well-being has been compromised, and she wants you to know about it.
No, I was just going to say that I've got a bit of a cold. I'm still getting over a cold. It's nearly gone, but if I sound a bit bunged up, that's why. And I might have to keep muting myself to cough and stuff.
That's fair. She really wants to sound good for you guys. Like, she really cares about the quality of the podcast. We were talking about, do we postpone? Do we cancel? We've already postponed a little bit. We're actually recording this at the weekend for you guys so that she sounds better. She is a consummate professional and really cares about your listening experience. And I just feel like you guys should know that she takes this is like masterpiece theater over here. Okay. We take this podcast so seriously because we love you guys so much.
If we'd recorded on Thursday like normal, I was like, if I was listening to myself, I'd be like, shut up, you can't breathe properly. And you just sniff it all the time.
Oh, we're our own worst critics, aren't we? Like all creatives, their own worst critics every time.
Yes. But to answer your original question, I really liked this episode because we got some of the backstory and Sam's visions were finally acknowledged again because I've been annoyed that they've been ignoring that for a few episodes.
You've been so annoyed. I was really happy to see that because I was like, Laura's going to be pleased.
Yeah. I'm also glad that now Dean knows about them as well. He's told Dean, so that's good. And it was interesting to see their mum and dad again. So their mum comes back in spirit form and their dad comes back in coward form. Because why is he hiding from them?
Oh my
God. I knew he was coming back. I said, didn't I, in the prediction? I was like, he's in it. But in fairness, it wasn't really my prediction. It was because he's on the thumbnail.
Yeah. Well, there's no avoiding that as like a spoiler because it's in the episode title. So there's no way for you to not know that John is going to be featured in this episode in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I thought they were just going to be flashbacks, but yeah.
Yeah, Laura's rage at John Winchester continues. I feel like it's fair. Like, I'm with Missouri on this episode. Missouri is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
and like she's like, why the hell are you not talking to your children? I don't understand.
Uh-huh.
And John's all like, I can't until I know for sure, until I have answers. Yeah. And it's just like, sir.
No.
I have mixed feelings because I know more than Laura does. So like, I know some of why he's doing what he's doing and the way that he's doing it. And yet still, even so, I'm annoyed at him because like, oh my God, in this episode, Dean calls his dad and he's like, you can tell he's holding back tears. Like he's emotional. Yeah. And Dean doesn't get emotional like that. And he is like basically begging his father to come and help them and that they're in over their heads. And like, this is Dean facing his trauma. Like this guy has PTSD about this. Terrible things happened to him and his mom here. Like this is his core trauma. And he's really asking his dad, please help, please show up. I don't know how to do this. And meanwhile, his dad,
he listened to that.
Yeah. And his dad is just like, if you have any problems with any monsters, Dean is your answer. Just go to my son, Dean. So while I get John is on a quest and while I get that John has information that he needs to get, and I understand where he's coming from, I'm not on his side with this one. I'm on Missouri's side. He needed to be a better dad to his kids too. Like he's a very black and white thinker. And I just feel like I could never listen to Dean be that choked up asking for help.
Yeah.
And take his side. I can't do that. I don't know how he can be like, I need to find answers.
Yeah, because he might.
You need to find your sons.
To find answers, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. They're all trying to find answers. He doesn't need to find answers right now. He needs to find his sons. That's my input.
Yeah. Should I do the synopsis?
Yeah.
So this is Season 1, Episode 9, Home. The original air date for this episode was November 15th, 2005. Sam has a vision that the family, now living in their childhood home, is in trouble. They go to see the family and realise there has been some ghostly activity. They find a psychic who their dad went to around the time of their mum's death, and she goes with them to the house. She says there is now a poltergeist there who wants to harm the family, but it isn't the same evil entity that killed their mum. They all try to cleanse the house, but the poltergeist fights back. They think they have exorcised the poltergeist, but it gets worse and traps the family. Sam and Dean rescue them, but the poltergeist traps Sam in the house. Mary Winchester's spirit appears and then sacrifices herself to rid the house of the malevolent spirit.
Yeah, that's really good. I have so many thoughts and feelings about this episode, so I'm really excited to dive into it with you and to see if we have the same thoughts and feelings, which I think that we will. I also found some really interesting Easter eggs. This episode is dripping with Stephen King
Oh, yeah.
references. And
I've
I'm
got
really
two.
excited. You've got two. Okay, I've got a couple more than that. So I'll wait and see which ones you have so that I don't like double up. But yeah,
I've just got the obvious ones, I think.
um
I'm interested to know what your Easter eggs will be because I didn't think you were going to have any for this. Because is this a real place or is it a made up place where their house is?
this is a real place and I have a real show Easter egg for this one, more so than a
Ah,
historic. So it's
oh, cool.
local folklore, which takes place in their hometown, and I'm really excited to get into it because I feel like this Easter egg proves my entire theory about the writers leaving us little crumbs throughout the season and how we as
Ooh,
viewers could, if we want to, have like basically a road trip folkloric experience of finding all of the real things that the show has based episodes off of. Literally, Eric Kripke said on Twitter at the time. And I like calling it Twitter to just annoy the people because
yeah. Well, no one knows what
that
you
would
mean
probably
if you say
aggravate Elon
X.
Musk. And like
Yeah.
that
But
entertains
what
me
is X?
greatly. Honestly, I
Yeah.
know.
X is stupid. Twitter,
I agree.
yeah, people still call it Twitter.
So we're just calling it Twitter. And when the tweets were made, it was Twitter and it was tweets. So that's what I'm gonna call them.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
And what
but
could you
yeah,
call, what's the equivalent of tweets on X?
I don't
That
know. I
doesn't
don't even know
work.
what you would say. Zeets. What are you gonna call that? It doesn't work. So, in this episode, to kick us off, my first note is just kind of a description of the opening scene.
Yeah.
So we see a mom and her daughter in a spooky old house, and creepy stuff starts happening. And just as you start thinking that this looks like a case for Sam and Dean, the mom finds a box in the basement, and we realize, oh snap, this is Sam and Dean's house. Like, this is their case. And I thought that that
Yeah.
was so interesting because when you think about it, they themselves are a case that they could have investigated and helped. Like, it's like, what's that saying
Yeah.
where, like, you as an adult are the person that your younger self needed? Um,
Yeah.
and that definitely happens in this episode. Like Sam and Dean end up being the heroes that they needed when they were kids and all this stuff happened to their mom.
That's cool. Or if they were time travelers, they could go back
Yeah.
and
There
help
is time
themselves.
travel in this TV show. So just saying.
Ah.
That's something to look forward to.
So I did have some notes during that opening scene. So first of all, because the mum is unpacking and she picks up a wedding photo, do we know if the dad died or if they're just divorced? Because I don't think that was mentioned.
So my read on this is that she's a widower. She talks about not having a lot
Mm.
of money and she looks so sad. I feel like if they were divorced, she might look sad, but she looks heart-wrenched. So
Yeah.
my read is that she's ended up in this super fucking haunted property because it's marked down because it's a super haunted property. Like I know they say no malevolent stuff when they're researching it and that Missouri's keeping an eye on it. So I
Yeah.
assume that nothing huge has happened, but I think maybe it was a little spooky ooky.
Yeah.
And I think that's knocked down the property value because also when she moves in, I think there are things where it looks a bit run down. And she immediately starts having issues with things like the lights. So I think it's been a low level spooky enough that other tenants may have just left, knocking down
Yeah.
the value of the house.
Okay. Yeah, I was taking it that she was a widow as well, but
Yeah.
I wasn't actually sure. Um, the daughter, so Sari,
Sari.
she she needs to trust her intuition because she knows what's going on. The mum's like,
She
"Oh, there's
does.
nothing in your closet," and she's like, Yes, there is. So yeah, trust your intuition. Um,
Mhm.
I had a point about when Jenny goes down into the basement, she tries the light switch, and of course it doesn't work
Mhm.
because every horror movie ever. And
Yep.
the other thing I had to say was I feel like it was a deliberate choice that Jenny looks quite a lot like Mary, like their mum.
I agree. Yeah, I think so too, and I think it's interesting to watch Dean's reaction to her
Yeah.
because she is hot. She's a hot mom, and Dean makes no passes at her at all.
Uh-huh.
And I think he does
Yeah.
associate her with his mom, and he wants to protect her, but he's also terrified, and so he's simultaneously really wants to help her and save her, and also is, like, scared to be in the house and to go back to the house. So in my notes, I agree with you, and I put, "I really admire this little girl for being like, 'No, no, barricade the door.' She knows what's up. Final girl material at a young age." And then you
Yeah.
have the burning, and I put air quotes monster because we know who it is, um, emerging from her closet. But like in the opening scene, when you don't know that that's Mary's spirit, you're just
Yeah.
like, she knows. She knows what's up. She knows there's something bad in the house. She knows that something's going to come out of her closet. And she doesn't just go, Mommy, you have to check or like leave on a light. She's like, barricade that bitch. And I'm here
Yeah.
for that.
Block the whole thing. But see, I think I wrote this later in my notes, but why so the fiery monster in the closet, which is Mary,
Yeah.
um, is like terrorizing her. So but if she's supposed to be good, the good spirit, not the bad poltergeist spirit, why well, I suppose unless both the poltergeist is there as well, and it's just that
Yeah.
the fiery spirit is the one she saw,
Yeah.
but I
So
feel
we
like that was
have
scary.
Yeah, so Mary's not trying to scare the little girl. Mary's trying to protect the little girl. And she goes fire mode when she's protecting. Like I love the X-Men, so I think of her as like the Phoenix. Um it's her Phoenix superpower as a spirit. So basically the way that I see it is the little girl is sensing something super scary from that direction. I think the poltergeist probably is lurking there. And then Mary turns up to be like, you leave this child alone because she's Mary Winchester.
Yeah, but she also needs to have some awareness that her being on fire
You're
might scare a
like
child.
you're like, "Stop scaring the child, God damn it." I don't think she has an option. I
Yeah.
don't think it's an option for her to appear differently. I think her
I mean, she
energy
did
is
die on fire, so she probably
yeah,
can't
like
help it.
I don't think that she can help the whole flame on aspect of what's happening here. I think that she is but I kinda like this though because I think I've encountered and friends of mine who are in the, like, paranormal community, we've
Mhm.
encountered spirits who on the surface seem terrifying or scary, but then they're the good guys. So I
Yeah.
think that sometimes that does happen where, like, something will on the surface seem really scary and then you'll investigate it a bit or you'll do witchy stuff and you'll realize, actually, this is the good guy. This is the good spirit. It just seems scary. And I think that's a valuable lesson. Like, don't judge a book by its cover. I do
Yeah.
appreciate that it's not ideal to appear to a small child like a flaming, like, creature. That's scary. But I don't feel like Mary had an option. Like, I don't think she could just not appear on fire. I think that that
No.
interaction that happens with the boys later is because the boy that's Sam's power, in my opinion. Sam's power lets him see through her ghost mojo or whatever you wanna call it, and once he sees her as mom, she
Yeah.
becomes mom. I think that's a reflection of
Uh,
Sam's abilities.
yeah. Okay.
So that's my theory.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, when the bit where the chair starts like shaking and the chair that's covering the closet door, it starts moving and shaking. That bit is really
Yeah.
scary before it opens and then the fiery Mary's there. Um,
Yeah. I agree.
oh, and I had a note about Sari's scream being the best one so far out of all of the screams. Because she didn't do the delay thing, she just
Yeah,
screams.
she was just
So
straight up like,
good
"Ah!"
girl.
Yeah. Showing the adults how it's done. Good work,
Yeah.
kid. Good work. She's probably like 24 now.
So the next scene starts with Sam having a vision or a dream, and in this vision, Jenny is banging on the upstairs window in the house screaming for help. And Sam wakes up, and then they're kind of trying to decide well, Dean's researching, trying to decide what they're next going to go and investigate, and Sam is just preoccupied with drawing the tree from his vision because the tree is outside the house. And I wrote,
Mhm.
why is it him drawing the tree that triggers the thought that it's their actual house? Because then he realizes it's their house. Like, why did the house not look like their house?
And I have an answer to that. So the first thing is the tree is significant because it ties into the Easter egg for this episode. There is a very spooky
Oh,
tree that is legendary in Lawrence, Kansas. And I also found actual tweets from Eric Kripke stating specifically why he made Lawrence, Kansas their hometown.
oh,
And I have the full article that he actually listed the website that he pulled it from. And you guys are going to be so satisfied with me because most of my Easter eggs have come from that website. So, like, when I've said, oh, I think they're pulling from folklore and I think it's this, that's like a very big pat on the back to me as the show's researcher because, yes, I've been right. I'm over here like all conspiracy theory board in the background. I've been right the whole time. Um, so I am psyched about this Easter egg because I think it's so cool because it feel like it confirms all of my theories. So
that's
the
cool.
tree is super famous and it's really interesting to me. Like Laura says that he does the tree and emphasizes the tree and not recognizing the house because while we could say, okay, but he was a baby when they fled the house, he's definitely seen family photos. Like he must have seen
Yeah.
so many pictures of the house before. Um,
Well, he picks out the picture finds a photo with the tree and the house when he is saying, "Look,
in
it's
the
our
journal.
house."
Yes, exactly. So we know that he knows what the house looks like. So Laura's absolutely correct to pick up on the fact that the tree is significant because it is significant. Um, so I am going to go ahead and launch into my Easter egg for this episode for you guys. And I think that you are going to love this. All right. So obviously,
I'm
I had
excited.
already started looking up Lawrence because we know that it's Sam and Dean's home. So when I've said that I'm checking the locations because we're on the journey with them and there's always an Easter egg, I was like, there's definitely going to be an Easter egg for Lawrence. And the first thing that I actually came up was on Supernatural Wiki. Shout out to them. And they said that Lawrence, Kansas was specifically chosen by Eric Kripke because of the folklore. Now, there are certain things on that page that I can't actually reveal because it's spoilers for Laura. Like, that's like many episodes down the line stuff. So you also can't look it up, Laura. I'm sorry, you can't look at that reference in my
Okay.
show notes. Just a warning. If you don't want spoilers and you're watching along with us episode by episode, don't look at that one yet, you guys, because it's massive spoilers for you. You can't look at that reference until you've watched like I think the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. Um,
Okay,
so I'm
it's not
sorry
too
about
far
that.
to wait.
It's not too long to wait. We're already at the midway point, but a little patience. So the rest of you who've seen the whole season can definitely look at it because it's not going to be spoilers for you, and I think it'll be really fascinating. So that could be fun, and that's in my show notes, obviously. But basically, I was on the hunt at this point because I was like, I really wanted to see exactly what Eric Kripke has said because they had said there's references to interviews, and I was like, listen, I need to see the receipts. What did he say about it? I'm dying of curiosity at this point. I'm just like, "Whew, this is going to be good." And I thought it would be really pivotal since this is the place that he had specifically pinned down as Winchester hometown. Um,
Yeah,
so it
where it all
actually
began.
where it all began exactly. It actually transpires that Lawrence, Kansas has their own homepage. And so I have a quote here that I'll read to you. So Lawrence, Kansas's homepage, their tourism page basically says haunted and supernatural.
Ooh,
Some spirits find it hard to leave Lawrence, and who can blame them? With a pre Civil War history as fiery and volatile as ours, Lawrence has more than a few ghosts and haunts. Lawrence's history of urban legends is why Eric Kripke, creator of the cult drama Supernatural, chose Lawrence as the birthplace of evil fighting adventures. Sam and Dean Winchester. We see you, Supernatural. So it makes me laugh every time. Like the way they're like, "We see you, Supernatural fans." I was just like, "That is so cute. I love that so much." And then Jensen being Jensen, actually, it turns out this is an Easter egg on top of an Easter egg. I don't know if he saw this, what predates what, but he went to Lawrence, Kansas as like a nod. And they
Oh.
have this big stone sign that spells out Lawrence. And he went and posed on top of it and then posted the photo. So now within the fandom, this has become kind of like a little secret nod situation where people will go for the photo op like you would at the Hollywood sign, but it's Lawrence and it's for Supernatural.
That's cool. We should go and we should do that.
We absolutely should. So
We need a
I was
podcast road
like,
trip.
I was obsessed with it. Honestly, just I love it. So I kept digging because again, that also referred me to Eric Kripke making a direct reference. So the Twitter goes like this. Supernatural fun fact from at the real Kripke. The reason Sam and Dean are from Lawrence, Kansas, proximity to the urban legend of Stull Cemetery. And then he posted a link, which is from weirdus.com, and it's the Kansas State one. So we're going to go to weirdus.com and read the Stull Cemetery legend. Okay.
Ooh, yay.
Stull, Kansas, the gateway to hell. I grew up in Lawrence, Kansas, which is about 15 miles away from the town of Stull. Everyone where I came from had heard the rumors of the evils of Stull, and many of us made trips to the cemetery there to experience it firsthand. With only a handful of residents and a few buildings within its borders, Stull seems like a quiet, lonely little peaceful town. If you believe the stories about Stull, however, you will find that it is actually as far from peaceful as one town can get. Stull, Kansas is actually one of the, in quotes, 7 gateways to hell. The basic premise of the legend regarding Stull go like this. Somewhere within the tiny, run-down Stull Cemetery is a set of hidden steps, which descend directly to the netherworld itself. The steps are nearly impossible to find and are covered by a hidden seal which only opens on Halloween and the spring equinox. If one does manage to find these steps, they should never venture down them, for it is impossible to ever return.
Ooh, creepy steps that just go nowhere. No thanks.
The creepy steps that apparently go to hell. I know, right?
Well,
Okay.
ew.
I
That's like,
know.
have you heard the there's stories of like stairs in like random staircases in woods that go nowhere. And
I have and I'm
it's like a
obsessed
thing.
with them. I'm
Yeah,
obsessed.
that's what that reminded
Oh,
me of.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so they go on to say the entire cemetery, even beyond, containing a gateway to hell, is supposedly quite an evil place. The main focus of this evil was a dilapidated, crumbling church that stood up until last year. The church was used by witches and occult groups for worship. Can I just say, guys, let's not lump in the witches with just all evils, okay? Not everybody is doing bad stuff. There's good witches out there. Just stop it. Okay.
Yeah, most witches just have like a nice garden.
I just feel like neo pagans deserve a break. We
Yeah.
deserve a break, really. Like, oh, okay. I'm going back. I'm diving back in. The church had no ceiling, but it was said that rain would never fall inside it. If one were to take 2 bottles and hold them in the formation of an inverted cross, it would be impossible to break them against the walls of the church. Last year, the church was bulldozed without the consent of those who owned the land it stood upon. No one is sure who knocked down the church and why they chose to do so. Also, within this cemetery was an impossibly tall pine tree. Remember the pine tree? The tree? Significant. Which stood until 1998 when it was destroyed to dissuade thrill seekers. Even though the tree was perfectly healthy, it was cut down the day before Halloween. This tree grew directly through a headstone, splitting it in half. Local lore held that the tree was used to hang witches before the land was allotted as a memorial ground. Both the church and the tree were considered landmarks of evil, which would help lead the way to the mystical steps to hell located nearby. In Stull's history, there have been a few strange facts which speak to its long reputation of being a cursed area. First, in the early 1900s, a boy was accidentally burned to death by his own father. A few years later, a man in town was found hanging from a tree. Both of these took place near a road known as Devil's Road, which appears on old maps of Stull, although it no longer exists today. In short, Stull, Kansas has long been a place of mysterious deaths and associations with the Dark Prince. I'm sorry, I can't help but say the Dark Prince slightly sarcastically.
I would say
Yeah.
the church sounds quite cool though, because it's got
Yeah.
like if you're standing in a church and it's raining outside and there's no roof, but then there's no rain in the church, that would be weird.
That
And
is very
did you say there
weird.
was a tree growing in through the middle of the church, or was that outside in the
So
graveyard?
the tree is in the graveyard, and the tree
Ah,
was supposed to have grown through a specific grave as well. So there's a rumor that there were witch trials
ah,
in the
yeah, I
town,
think you
and
said that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a memorial.
okay. I think in my head it was going through the middle of the church, but I think that's because there's a church somewhere around here, around near where I live,
Yeah.
where it's supposed to be a haunted church, and there's a tree growing through the middle of it.
Yep. Okay. Today, mysterious people guard Stull from disturbances. Stories abound of curious people being terrorized and chased out of Stull by pickup trucks. Some stories say that these trucks would trail intruders for over 20 miles. This had led to further speculation that there is something going on in Stull that someone wishes to hide. And that was written by Erica S. And then there's further contributions. So this part says, still scary in Stull. There is a cemetery in Stull where a pine tree stood stoic sentinel on sunny, bright winter days and would appear as a silhouette at sunset. A tombstone has been split by the enormous trunk and has become embedded in the roots. Tales of a witch being hung from the branches of the pine have been passed down through the generations. Other witches subsequently have flocked to the cemetery on May Day Eve and on Halloween to hold black masses. The witches have been known to dance around the tree. On October 30th, 1998, the pine was cut down that had previously loomed over the cemetery. Kedrich Blackwood of the Lawrence Journal World quotes the official position of the town citizens that the tree had to be removed because it had died during the summer. Authorities have made no indication that the pine had played a role in legends of demonology that surrounded the cemetery or that it had anything to do with why the tree was cut down. The ruins of the church in Stull consist of 4 walls and a pile of debris that used to be on a manual hill that served Stull until 1922. Since then, the legends concerning the church and the surrounding cemetery have grown as the church has decayed. The church was allegedly used by Satanists who used to and may still use the church to have rituals. There are many rumors of a staircase that is behind the church on the right hand side of the church if you are facing the church. That's a lot of churches in that sentence. I feel like maybe we should have reread that before we typed it. The staircase is difficult to find because grass has overgrown the lid that covers the stairwell. The stairs are supposed to lead to a gateway to hell. One rumor says that if one goes down the stairs, it will take 2 weeks to get back up to the ground level, although it seems like only a few moments have passed. After starting to descend the stairs, it feels as if the person is being dragged down the stairs by an unknown force. One of the most important legends is that the church serves as one of the 7 portals to hell. The devil reportedly makes a personal appearance in the cemetery on Halloween at midnight to visit the grave of a witch whom the devil had a child with. Their child is said to materialize in the surrounding woods, taking on the form of a werewolf. Visitors who have made midnight trips to the cemetery have fallen victim to various mysterious phenomena. Many of them have reported experiencing missing time. They have found that although, according to their watches, they have spent several hours in the cemetery, when all they remember is next to nothing. For those who dare to camp out behind the church for a night or two, they will hear weird and awful noises. People who are brave enough are encouraged to spend the night behind the church to avoid patrols performed by local police that occur every hour or two. People are encouraged to bring lots of extra batteries for their flashlights because they will have lots of problems with their flashlights going out mysteriously. It would also be a good idea to bring warm clothing, a tent, and a cell phone, not to mention telling a friend where you will be in case the devil tries to take you down to hell with him. That was contributed by Adam John Ketzner.
I can see why people do want to go, but people should be respectful though, rather than um, vandalizing the church and the
Yeah, so
graveyard.
I think that it's all well and good to be really interested in paranormal things, but I think like I mean, I feel like all of us should be raised to respect a cemetery regardless of where we come from, but I'm a southerner, which means I was raised that like you don't even walk over someone's grave.
Mm.
You never step on a grave. That's considered really bad luck or really rude. And there are
Yeah, I grew
lots
up
of
there in that as well.
Yeah, so there's lots of beliefs that we hold around how to treat graves and how to treat cemeteries. Um, and just you would never be disrespectful like that. And I will say, like, as a witch who believes in an afterlife, I would say that goes double. Like, I've been so rewarded for just doing kind little things in cemeteries, and I would never wanna be on the receiving end of the negative side of that if you've been disrespectful. Like, I believe there are real spiritual consequences to things like that personally. And even if you're a complete atheist and you don't believe in stuff like that and you're just going out for a lark, like, I would still, because I've been an atheist in my life, like, my spiritual journey's been long and winding, like, I would still never even step on a grave. So, like, the idea that someone would go
Mm,
out there and vandalize something or leave litter or trash or create such a situation that, like, they feel like they have to have cops there every few hours, um,
yeah,
that's a lot. Like, that's not okay. Um, I think we can investigate places and be respectful and responsible at the same time. Let's call it the 2 Rs.
yeah, definitely.
But that is the article that Eric Kripke read that made him decide that that was gonna be where he was gonna set the show, and I think that that's really interesting, and you can see how when you get a little bit further down the line in the show, specific pieces of that article do make their way into the show in the show lore. So it's not just this one impact in the tree. I've also found a lot of other very interesting articles that I've linked in the show notes for those who are curious that expand on the story. They talk more about the tree, they talk more about how the rumors got started. There was a student newspaper article back in, I think, the 70s that first started mentioning this rumor. It might have been the 80s actually. And you can definitely see some links to the 80s and satanic panic with the
Yeah,
development of this urban legend in particular. So I want to keep it light and I do want to keep it fun, but I think that it's worth pausing as Laura did. I think Laura's absolutely right to pause and to say that, like, we should always be respectful of people's places of rest and their burial sites.
yeah. So the tree that was in that graveyard that's growing through the tombstone, is that the tree in the episode, or is it just that because he'd read that story and that urban legend, he then thought, oh, it's cool to have a tree in the like the lore of the show?
So my takeaway is that that tree is a nod to the tree in the legend, and that them having a tree like that and directly in front of their house, is like Sam and Dean Winchester growing up on the portal to hell, kind of like
Yeah,
a little nod.
that's cool.
Uh, yeah, I
Yeah,
really loved that. And there's also in the show notes, so there's that tree that people talk about that got cut down. There's another tree which is linked in a different piece of lore, which is in my show notes for you guys. Um, that is has not been cut down and is also linked to a lot of ghost activity and supernatural activity. Now, I didn't put it in this direct story because I just wanted to reach you guys what Kripke had read because he literally named that site as the reason why he based it where it was. So we factually know that that exact one is the Easter egg for this episode. So I've just kept it
cool.
completely wrapped up in exactly what he saw and exactly what he said. And I am so thrilled because it's like, I'm right. I've been right this whole time. Like,
Yeah, that is cool. That was a good Easter
that
egg.
is fun.
Um,
Yeah.
so you mentioned as well that other things from that urban legend are in the show. So does that mean there's
Mhm.
stairs that go to hell? Don't actually answer if it's a spoiler though.
I can't answer you. There are things that when we get down this season, I'll remind you of this legend and you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is this and this is this. But the tree is definitely a big one. Um,
Cool.
and the legend of Stoll Cemetery is definitely a big one. And I think that as supernatural fans, it's kind of fascinating to hear about Stoll Cemetery. Um, I kind of want to go there, but I also don't want to contribute to the negative tourism that they're experiencing. So I have
Yeah,
mixed feelings about going to Stoll Cemetery.
that's what I was
Um,
thinking too.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious about it.
So, so Sam he was drawing the tree. He then realizes, oh, I think I recognize this tree. He goes and finds the journal, the dad's journal, finds the picture of the house with the tree, and them all standing in front of it. And he's like, I know where we need to go next to Dean. and says that they need to go back home. And Dean
Yeah.
looks really scared right from that start when he says that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does. So they're
Oh, and
having this.
he says, okay, random. And I just had to make a point because I don't know if it was just a thing around that time, but I used to say random all the time.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know if that was just a
definitely
thing of the time.
that's definitely a thing of the time for sure. Like
Like,
that's a whole cultural moment. Um, so I have a part of the script here because I thought it was pretty good stuff that they were saying to each other.
yeah.
So Sam's saying that he thinks they need to go back home, and Dean's debating with him, and Sam says about the house, he said, and it didn't burn down, right? I mean, not completely. They rebuilt it, yeah? And Dean says, yeah, I guess so. What the hell are you talking about? And Sam says, okay, look, this is going to sound crazy, but the people who live in our old house, I think they might be in danger. And Dean says, why would you think that? Sam, it's just, look, just trust me on this, okay? He starts to walk away, and Dean follows him. Dean, wait, whoa, whoa, trust you? Sam, yeah. Dean, come on, man, that's weak. You gotta give me a little bit more than that. Sam, I can't really explain it as all. Dean, well, tough. I'm not going there anyway until you do. Sam sighs, and Dean waits. And Sam says, I have these nightmares. And Dean's nodding, and he says, I've noticed. And Sam says, and sometimes they come true. And Dean says, come again? And he looks absolutely like flabbergasted, okay? You could knock Dean over with a feather, all right? And Sam says, look, Dean, I dreamt about Jessica's death for days before it happened. And Dean says, Sam, people have weird dreams, man. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. And he sits down on the bed. And Sam says, no, I dreamt about the blood dripping on her, on the ceiling, her on the ceiling, the fire, everything. And I didn't do anything about it because I didn't believe it. And now I'm dreaming about that tree, about our house, about some woman inside screaming for help. I mean, that's where it all started, man. This has to mean something, right? Dean, overwhelmed. I don't know. Sam, sitting across from Dean. What do you mean you don't know, Dean? This woman might be in danger. I mean, this might even be the thing that killed Mom and Jessica. Dean, all right, just slow down, would you? He stands up and begins pacing around the room. I mean, first you tell me that you've got The Shining, and then you tell me that we've got to go back home, especially when. And I'm just going to pause here because this is the first Stephen King reference. He's like, first you tell me that
Yeah,
you've got The Shining.
I did that. That was one of my ones I had noted.
It's like it's flawless. It's so good
yeah.
because Sam is Danny in this scenario, isn't he?
yeah.
Okay. So Dean says, when I swore to myself that I would never go back there. And Sam says really softly, look, Dean, we have to check this out just to make sure. And Dean says, I know we do.
hmm
And then the next scene, like they're pulling up outside of their old house. But I just was like, Dean was so traumatized that he, who goes into every situation ever, who saves everyone ever, is like, do we have to go back? I promised myself I would never go back. And it's
Yeah.
Sam who's like, we need to save her. We need to help her.
Yeah. Because Sam doesn't really remember what happened, does he? But Dean does because he was old enough.
Yeah. And that's a terrible memory to carry with you. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I just
But
feel
he did
like
look really scared.
he actually looks really scared. I think this is the most emotional and the most scared that you see Dean in
Uh-huh.
the first season for sure, maybe the first couple of seasons. I can't really remember. I know there's a lot of other big stuff that does happen. Um this is the first big one, I think, because like later on when he's calling his dad for help, he's on the verge of
Yeah.
tears.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so they pull up outside of the Winchester house.
Yeah. They both look hot there.
Just has to go from this is very sad, this is a terrible backstory to thirst trap. Ah, amazing. Amazing.
I like how when they knock on the door and Dean goes to kind of do his usual telling a lie about who they are, and
Yeah.
Sam stops him and is like, "I'm Sam Winchester," and tells them who they really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is good because then she lets them in because of that, because she's like, "Oh yeah, I found some photos of yours the other day."
It's just Joe Whitetree coming back, isn't it? Joe Whitetree is like, don't be a liar. Sam just comes in
Yeah.
straight away telling the truth, and Dean's like, are you sure you want to do that? but then it works in their favor.
Yeah. So they
It's
go
so
into the
funny.
house and there's like a super hyper kid who's like bouncing up and down in his playpen shouting juice, juice, juice. I was like, chill kid.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like this line too. Jenny says, "That's Richie. He's kind of a juice junkie."
Yeah.
That was so funny.
And then they're talking about the house and she's kind of talking about everything that's going wrong with the house.
Mhm. So, Sorry says hi, and Dean waves at Sorry, which is adorable. And Sam says, "Hey,
Yeah.
Sorry," which is also adorable. And then Dean says, "So you just moved in?" And Jenny says, "Yeah, from Wichita," which is my next Stephen King reference because turns out that in Wichita, there was actually a real amusement park that Stephen King based Joyland on. So Joyland is another one of his projects. And so I found a quote that says, "Back in the 80s, Wichita, Kansas had a real life amusement park named Joyland. And that was the brainchild for King's book, a truly magical place in its heyday. It then went into ruin and disrepair in the 90s and finally burned to the ground in 2006. You can check out the photo, you can check out the photo journal by Destin Ray Shannon and pay particular attention to the wacky shack as referenced by King."
Uh,
So her hometown is an Easter egg Stephen King reference for Joyland, which was he based it off of this real place in Wichita.
cool.
So that's what that is. And then I looked up the summary of Joyland because I was like, maybe the plot has something to do with what's going on here. And it says, set in a small town in North Carolina, the amusement park is called Joyland, and in 1973 tells the story of the summer in which college student Devin Jones comes to work as a carny and confronts the legacy of a vicious murder, the fate of a dying child, and the ways both will change his life forever, which is very similar to what's happening in this episode. So, the dying child, we could argue, is either one of her kids because the poltergeist targets both of them. They're both in danger of dying. There is the legacy of a vicious murder because that's Mary's murder. And the things that
Yeah.
happen, the fate of what's happening is going to change both of their lives forever. So, that ties in so nicely to what's happening in the storyline. I felt like I definitely had to mention it.
That's really interesting.
Mhm.
And a Stephen King reference.
And a Stephen King reference.
We
It's
love
win, win, win.
those. So yeah, so Jenny is kind of complaining about all the things that are going wrong in the house. She says they've got rats, the sink's all backed up.
Yeah,
And then Sari wants to ask them, quote, if it was here when they lived here. And
yeah.
she tells them about the thing in the closet. And Jenny says Sari had a bad dream the other night. Sari says, no, bitch, I wasn't dreaming. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. But again, she's like, no, her mum's just like, no, you're fine. And she's like, no, I'm not. I know what I saw.
Yeah, no,
Um,
sorry is amazing. I love sorry.
yeah,
She's not
we
taking
like
no
her.
for an answer. She's like, I know that it was real, and I'm gonna stand my ground. She's the girl who has her
Yeah,
closet door barricaded, and it's just like, no, mother, you're wrong.
yeah,
But yeah, that is a really significant moment, and I really love that. I love that you pointed that out because she says, "I wasn't dreaming. It came into my bedroom, and it was on fire." And
yeah.
Sam and Dean are obviously shook because their mom died in a
In a fire.
fire on the ceiling, demonic as
Yeah,
hell. Okay. So they're thinking, oh my God, what if the thing that killed our mom really is still here? The thing that killed mom, the thing that killed Jess. And
yeah,
we're like, what are we gonna do? And I love that, but there's also when I was taking notes about it, because you said about all the spooky stuff in the house, I wrote down the haunted house trifecta, flickering lights, backed up pipes, scratching noises from the basement, because Dean's also like, "Have you seen the rats or have you only heard the scratching noises?" And she's like, "Really, we only hear
yeah.
scratching coming from the basement." And Dean's like, "Well, fuck." Like you can see his face just slowly as he's realizing that Sam is right. Dean on the inside is like, "Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck."
He's like, this is haunted.
It's hella haunted. I
Um,
also put down that the house is like dark film noir, the way that it's filmed. All the colors are pretty dark and muted. A lot of them are in blue tones, and that makes it look more sad. And
Nighttime.
yeah, like dark blues, like at night. Um, I felt like that's where you were going with that one. Um,
Yeah, it's not
and
nighttime though.
it's not
They're
nighttime.
confusing us.
They are confusing us. They're lying to us. They're misleading us with these signals. Um, but because it's so dark, because the colors are deep blues, that's supposed to signal like nighttime and spookiness. It's like all of the lights are broken, and the only lighting that we're seeing in these scenes is coming from natural lighting that's coming in through the windows. So that really adds to the scary factor. It's like the house is breaking down around them and reflecting the the energy of the creature we think at this point, like the bad guy, right? So the house
Yeah.
itself, instead of looking like the photo that we see where it's like everybody's happy and smiling and all their pictures and all their family portraits, it's this beautiful family home. But for Jenny and her kids, it is such a gothic nightmare with scratching noises, all the lights being broken, all the pipes being backed up, like everything being so dark and broody and spooky. And I was just like, this is another instance of them using a location and making it gothic. And I appreciated that.
Yeah. So after this scene, they kind of leave and they go and fill up their car and they're talking about what actually happened or what Dean remembers because Sam doesn't remember anything, obviously.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's having a hard time reliving it. But they decide that they need to work out what happened then to try and work out what's happening now.
Yeah.
And they think that talking to their dad's friends would be the good first step. And this is where Dean then calls his dad on the voicemail, which
Yeah.
we've already talked about.
Hmm, hmm,
He's
hmm.
asking for his help, and he does look really, really upset.
Yeah.
Um,
So I have another small Easter egg for you with the voicemail. So when he calls his
oh
dad,
yeah,
we hear voicemail. This is John Winchester. If this is an emergency, call my son Dean at 866-907-3235. And then you hear the beep. And that was a real number that was an Easter egg. So if you called John's
love
number
it when
for
they
a
do that.
long time, it was a voicemail service where you hear messages from Jensen Ackles. And I thought
That's
that was
cool.
so cool. I found that on
Yeah, I love
IMDb.
it when shows do that.
Yeah, I
That's
think
cool.
that's so it just makes everything sort of three-dimensional and real, and I thought that was really fascinating and really cool, and I think between things like that and basing the locations in the show on real folklore, like, you're set up for a very full fan experience. If you want to and you have the means, you could go and visit it all excuse me, you could go and visit these key places and really experience stuff, like, firsthand, and I think
Mm,
that's really cool.
yeah, that's cool. Um, so before they go and see, because they go to the garage to see his, one of their dad's friends, but before that they have the plumber scene, which I did not like. This scene, there was multiple things I did not like about this. It was really scary. So you got the plumber who goes to fix the sink in the house. A weird clapping monkey toy starts just goes off on its own. Okay, that was scary to start with. It's
Yep,
really creepy as well. It's
yep.
one of those like bashing the cymbals monkeys. And then he sticks his hand in the garbage disposal in the sink. And you're like, okay, this is going to turn on. I know it is because, it's going to. And we get one of those false scares because he takes his hand out again and he's fine. But then he puts his hand in again. I think the monkey has stopped clapping at this point. And then it turns on and chews up his arm. And then the monkey starts clapping again. And it looks like it's laughing at him. And it was just horrible. I did not like it.
Did you know that that's a Stephen King reference?
Oh well, so I tell you what, I didn't, but is it the monkey thing? Because I've
Yeah.
definitely seen that before, but I did not notice that as a Stephen King reference. What is it in reference to?
Okay, so the creepy ass monkey toy, as I like to refer to it in my notes, um, from IMDb, it says the cymbal banging monkey is a reference to Stephen King's short story, The Monkey, first published in 1980 and included in the book Skeleton Crew, published in 1985.
Ah,
So that's a
I have read
specific
Skeleton Crew,
reference.
but a long time ago.
Yeah.
Ah,
And I was
yeah,
like,
that's creepy. I did not like that.
it's super, super creepy. My notes for this section say, "Here we go with the arm in the sink. How is this entire arm in the sink? First of all, and then, and then you go, oh fuck! But then his arm is okay, and then there's this weird metallic clinking noise, and he's still going
Uh,
to, investigate. And Joe decides it's a good idea to put his whole arm in here again. At which point he becomes a human smoothie from the elbow down. And the demon monkey toy is so happy about this that he's just banging the cymbal like applause. Meanwhile, Joe is bleeding out into his own bucket. And I put 10 out of
uh,
10 for the scare factor.
Yeah, it was horrible. Also, just to quickly go back to the Stephen King reference, I
Yeah,
like how, because we've been pointing these out all the way along, not knowing if they were
intentional or not.
intentional.
Yeah, and now we
Yeah, and
know.
this is kind of confirming that as well. So you've got confirmation of that, and we've got confirmation of your Easter eggs too.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I think we should get gold stars because we're winning.
But yeah, that creepy monkey, I did not like that. I don't like, yeah,
That whole scene
I
was
didn't like
terrifying.
it. Uh-huh.
Reference to episode 0, isn't it? Where you're like, "I don't like creepy dolls and creepy toy stuff," and then the cymbal banging,
Yeah,
terrifying monkey toy is just, like, another level of evil toy scare. I'm not
yeah.
necessarily all that bothered by that stuff, but it's just the juxtaposition of, like, Joe becoming a human smoothie,
Uh-huh.
while the monkey is, like, banging the cymbals. It feels incredibly Stephen King. And so when I
Yeah.
found out that it was an actual Stephen King reference, I was like, you know what? No part of me is surprised by this. No, 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 not even a tiny iota of surprise is present in my body because that was the most Stephen King thing that I have ever seen in my life.
He has the ability to scare me good.
He does. It's his gift. It's why he's the king. So,
Right, so Sam and Dean go to the garage
yep,
that his dad used to own and talks to the old business partner.
hmm,
They're pretending to be detectives again.
they are.
And
Yes,
then are asking him what he remembers about John. Um,
yeah, yeah. So the owner says, "Well, he was a stubborn bastard. I remember that." And, whatever the game he hated to lose, it's that whole Marine thing. And Sam and Dean give each other this knowing look and then they nod. But, oh, he
yeah,
sure loved Mary and he doted on those kids. And Sam says, but that was before the fire. And I think that's both investigating and also Sam's experience was not of a doting father, really. So
uh-huh.
he doesn't remember any of this. So he's asking what was life like after the fire, both
Yeah,
investigating the case. And at this point, I wrote down a note where I was like, "Wow, they really are treating it like a case. Like they have this conversation." Like a little bit before this scene occurs, where they're like, "We have to treat this like we would treat any other case. We have to investigate. We have to do the groundwork. We have to talk to people." And so that's exactly what they're doing. And then the owner says
yeah,
that's right. And Sam says he never talked about that night. And the owner says, no, not at first. I think he was in shock. And Sam says, right. But eventually, what did he say about it? And he said, oh, he wasn't thinking straight. He said something caused that fire and it killed Mary. And Dean said, he ever say what did it? And the owner says, nothing did it. It was an accident, an electrical short in the ceiling or walls or something. I begged him to get some help, but, and Dean says, but what? And the owner says, he just got worse and worse. And Dean says, how? And the owner says, oh, he started reading these strange old books. He started going to see this palm reader in town. And Dean says, palm reader, do you have a name? And the owner goes, no. Like, why would I ever associate with a palm reader? Um,
yeah,
so they figure out how they figure out which one their dad went to because Sam is reading a list of his research and he says there's a few psychics and palm readers in town. There's someone named El Divino. He laughs. There's a mysterious Mr. Fortensky, Missouri Mosley. And Dean says, wait, Missouri Mosley? And Sam says, what? And Dean says, that's a psychic? And Sam says, yeah, I guess so. And Dean goes into the back seat of the car and pulls out John's journal. And he says, in Dad's journal, here, look at this. He opens it to the first page. First sentence, read that. And Sam says, I went to Missouri and I learned the truth. And Dean says, I always thought he meant the
yeah,
state. And I thought that was
yeah,
really cool. I went
yeah.
to
That was
Missouri
cool.
and I learned the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah. It's interesting, like that Dean would remember that exact quote as well. But I suppose he's looked through that book a lot.
Yeah. The actress who plays Missouri Mosley is called Loretta Devine, and she's one of my favorite actresses of all time. Um,
She's cool. I recognised her from a few things, but nothing that I can place.
she plays the cop in Urban Legend.
We still need to watch that again.
We do need to rewatch that. So, in the Hookman episode, we're heavily referring to Urban Legend because the writers heavily refer to Urban Legend in that whole episode. And I thought that was just a really
Yeah,
fun Easter egg because she plays the cop in
yeah.
Urban Legend, and then she plays Missouri Mosley in this episode. So in the same season
So,
that
do we think
really
that was
draws on that.
intentional as well?
I would like to think so.
Be- Especially because didn't you say that the Hookman episode was originally gonna be, like, the second episode ever?
Yep.
So they would have had more time to be like, "Oh, let's get her."
Yep. So they go to see Missouri. Um, and I love this whole scene. Okay. It
So,
is
I love her.
She's so funny. She's so funny. They walk in and Missouri is escorting a man out of the house while they're on a couch waiting. And Missouri says, "All right there. Don't you worry about a thing. Your wife is crazy about you." The man thanks her and she closes the front door behind him. Woo! Poor bastard. His woman is cold banging the gardener. And that made me laugh so hard. Okay. So hard. Um, and then there's this whole banter between her and the boys, and it gives me life. And she this
It's
entire
funny.
time is like giving Dean kind of a hard time the same way that Joe Whitetree gave Dean
Yeah,
a hard time. Like,
I noticed that as well.
I don't know. I just
Everyone always picks on him.
she goes, she goes, "Well, let me look at you." And she laughs, "Oh, you boys grew up handsome," which like, yes, they did. And then she points the finger at
Yeah.
Dean and she goes, "You are one goofy looking kid too." And Dean glares at her while Sam is like living his best life about this. Oh,
She
oh
does
my
that
god.
she does that a few times in the episode, doesn't she? And it's really
She
funny.
does. It's so, so funny. Um, and we learn that Missouri reads minds because she takes Sam's hand and she says, "Oh honey, I'm so sorry about your girlfriend." And both of them look
Yeah.
shook. And then she says, "And your father,
She's
he's
legit.
missing?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which, like, we know that she knows that he's not missing and she knows where he is this whole time. Um,
Well, does she though? Because does he not turn up? Does he has he already turned up? Because this is my question at the end. I had a question
mm,
saying, was he there the whole time and she already knew? Or when he turns up at the end, was it just that she knew he was there because she's a psychic?
Good question. So, like, if I have such mixed feelings. I have such mixed feelings because we don't know when John gets there. Like, maybe
Hmm.
Dean calls John and John decides he has to go and be near them, even if he's not going to reveal himself. So maybe John only turns up towards the end of the episode because Dean called him. Maybe Missouri doesn't know that John's there yet. Because she does kind of
Yeah.
also strike me as the kind of character who would be like smacking him, being like, "Go and talk to your children," because she
Yeah.
does tell him off at the end of the episode. Um,
That's how I like to think it happened.
I
But
like
it
to
could
think
be
that
that he was
too.
already there, and she's just then not telling them. But I don't think she. Yeah, well, we'll pretend it's the other way around.
We will
We'll
pretend
pretend
that.
she doesn't know.
Yeah. Um, so she says that she knows with that information because he was thinking it. So like she can read thoughts. She's legitimate. Um, And then Dean says, "Well, where is he? Is he okay?" And Missouri says, "I don't know." And Dean says, "Don't know? Well, you're supposed to be a psychic, right?" And Missouri says, "Boy, you see me sawing some bony tramp in half. You think I'm a magician? I'd be able to read thoughts and sense energies in a room, but I can't just pull facts out of thin air. Sit, please." And Sam's smirking because Dean has been told off twice in like a few okay, like in a couple of minutes, Dean has had like such a telling off. And it's so funny. And Missouri is snapping at Dean. Put your foot on my coffee table. I'm gonna whack you with a spoon. And I felt that to my core because she is Southern. My mama's Southern. This is such a Southern thing to say. I've been beaten with a spoon before, and let me tell you, it hurts. Okay,
Mm,
it leaves a mark. No one wants to be whacked with a spoon. Okay, and Dean's like, "I
yeah.
didn't do anything." And Missouri goes, "But you were thinking about it." And Dean raises his eyebrows, like, "I can't believe this." And Sam is just in the corner cracking up. Okay, cracking up.
It
It's
was funny.
so funny.
Yeah, I liked her.
Yeah.
Um, so then we have a bit of we cut back to the house, and there's some sounds upstairs. So Jenny goes to check it out. So Richie's in the playpen again. She's
Yep.
doing something in the kitchen. She hears some sounds. She's like, "I'll be right back." And then the ghost or the poltergeist unlocks the playpen and the child lock on the fridge so that the fridge opens. And Richie's like, "Oh, juice!" So he goes over to get his juice. This is my flag of the episode, really, because
Yeah.
I thought this bit was stupid. So first of all, I First of all, I knew what was coming. I'm like, this kid is going to go in the fridge, isn't he?
Yeah.
But why? Why? He did not need to climb in the fridge to get the juice. He could have just got the juice. It was on, like, it was at his height. He did not need to climb physically in and sit in the fridge. So I don't understand why that. And then obviously the door shuts and he gets trapped in the fridge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So my note goes like, look at Richie in his baby jail cage. Because his playpen honestly looks like if there was ever a baby jail or baby prison, it's that playpen. That cracked me up. And that was like, she
Well,
does
clearly
not.
he needs a jail because
This is what
otherwise he's
I'm
going to go get in the fridge.
this is where I'm going. Juice addict. Small children are not sensible. Okay, they are the kind of kids who will climb into the fridge to get the juice, even though it's right. He has no common sense. Okay, this child has no common sense. That's why she keeps him in baby jail because he can't be trusted. All right. So then I said, Richie gets
It was on
ghost
the
nap.
front of the shelf. It was on the front of the shelf. He didn't even need to climb into the fridge. He literally had to like move the juice to get in the fridge to get his juice.
As a babysitter of small boys, I find that entirely believable. Honestly, they will go so hard at things that they don't need to go hard at for no reason, especially the kids who are sugar junkies. Because they tend to be stimulatory seeking kids and not have a lot of impulse control and not have a lot of like common sense. So this is why he's in a cage, okay? This is why he's caged. So I put down Richie gets ghost nap for the sin of juicy addiction, which is like the sin of juicy addiction, which is like the child version of a beer. Like this is like a horror movie scene. This is a child version of saying, I'm gonna go get a beer and go in alone to get a beer. Or saying, I'll be right back. Like this is the toddler version of that. Like his sin is he's a juice addict. And his juice addiction is what gets him yoinked in the horror franchise, in my opinion.
Well, he still could have got his juice without climbing in. Also, to continue the flag, why was the milk then dripping out of the fridge? Because he did not knock that over when he got in. And why was there not a lid on it? Because when she opens the fridge again, it's over on its side without the lid on. And also, why was he not screaming? If he got trapped in a fridge...
I feel like I have answers to this flag. And it goes back to some, not trauma. This is my childhood. So I'm older than you are by a stretch. And there were older fridges that were both soundproof and that kids unfortunately passed away in. There's several instances of this. This is why fridges are built differently now. But you used to be able to not open it from the inside. You could only open it from the outside. And so little kids would go in for milk or ice cream or juice, and then get stuck
because they had like a proper handle.
They had a proper handle. Now, if you look on this
Yeah.
episode, it looks like it's an older model of fridge, and she's put a safety lock on the front of the fridge so that he can't just go in and drown himself in juice, and also probably so that he can't go inside and just get stuck. Now, because that's there, and there's a poltergeist in the house, my assumption is the poltergeist, like from what I remember, the scene latches his in, and then, oh my god, latches him in. He gets stuck,
Yeah.
and then he kicks over the milk in an effort because he's trying to get out. Because he's not just going to sit there trapped in a dark fridge because the light's going to go off as soon as he's stuck in it, right?
Yeah, no, I don't understand why they did it, but it didn't work in the scene.
Yeah.
But also, if you've got milk in the fridge, you wouldn't have the lid off it. So even if you did kick it over, the milk wouldn't have fallen out. However, that is why she knows it's in the fridge, isn't it? So I suppose it had to happen.
It was a carton, not a bottle. It was a carton. So when he kicks it over, it works because it's a carton. So I can at least check that one off. But yeah. Yeah, so that's my childhood distress about my parents always telling me, don't climb into the fridge, don't get locked in the fridge. You'll die if you get into the fridge, over and over and over and over again. It's because of that.
Also, don't see why anyone would want to go in the fridge, but okay.
Well, that's I feel like that's where a lot of this is coming from. It's just like you're angry at Richie for going in the fridge instead of just getting his juice.
Well,
but then
having
there's no
said that, actually, I've just had a memory.
Yeah.
I've just had a memory of when I worked in a restaurant, and when the first day that I started there, all the chefs used to do like an initiation thing. They did it to everyone, and it was when they're cleaning out the fridges at the end of the shift. One of them would get in the fridge and close it, and then they'd ask the new person to go and get something out of the fridge, and then you'd open it and they'd jump out at you. So
Okay.
that's a reason why someone might get into a fridge.
That is the reason why someone might get into a fridge. The way that they could have sold this to us better was to have the poltergeist shove him into the fridge and slam the door shut more clearly. And then they could have off camera had the kid deliver the line, "Ah," or something like that from inside the fridge. That we hear.
Rather than him climbing in.
She doesn't hear. We hear it, and then she sees the spilled milk, and then she goes and saves him. Okay. And it could just be that he was kicking and flailing, and then he decided to self-comfort himself with some more juice before he starts kicking and flailing again. But that's the only salvageable. That's the only way I can salvage it. Okay.
Sorry, I feel like I made us spend too long on the fridge.
It's all right. Okay. So Jenny saves Richie from the fridge. And then there's a knock at the door and she answers it. It's Sam and Dean and Missouri. And she's like, "Sam and Dean, what are you doing here?" And Sam says, "Hey, Jenny, this is our friend Missouri." And Dean says, "If it's not too much trouble, we were hoping to show her the old house, for old time's sake." And Jenny says, "This isn't a good time. I'm kind of busy." And it's like, yes, she just saved her child from dying. Like, she's being told that she's being sued by the guy who's rest of his arm is now a milkshake on her floor. She's got a lot on her plate. Like, this is she's reasonable here. She's just like, not right now. And Dean says, "Listen, Jenny, it's important." And Missouri smacks him on the back of the head and he goes, "Ow." And I died laughing. That was so funny. And then Missouri says, "Give the poor girl a break. Can't you see she's upset?" And to Jenny, she says, "Forgive this boy. He means well. He's just not the sharpest tool in the shed, but hear me out." Dean's in the background, looking like, what the fuck just happened? I don't think there's coverage of Sam, but Sam's face, would be a fucking picture because he would be eating this shit up.
She's like treating them like naughty little kids. It's really funny.
Oh god, it's so funny. Well, I feel like she knows that they need a mom, and she's just like stepping into the role of like, she's like, this boy isn't that smart. He's dumb. I'm sorry about him. It's so funny. So Jenny says about what, and Missouri says about this house. And Jenny says, "What are you talking about?" And Missouri says, "I think you know what I'm talking about. You think there's something in this house, something that wants to hurt your family. Am I mistaken?" And Jenny says, "Who are you?" And she says, "We're people who can help, who can stop this thing, but you're going to have to trust us just a little." And it's so, it's like Jenny kind of comes around, and then the next scene, they're all in Sari's bedroom. And she says, "If there's dark energy around here, this room should be the center of it." And Sam says, "Why?" And she says, "This used to be your nursery, Sam. This is where it all happened."
Yeah. And she's kind of walking around. I kept expecting her to get shut in the closet because she keeps like walking in and walking out and then walking in and then walking out.
Yes, I kept thinking that too. I was like, oh no. But those were like the faux jump scares that they like to give us. The jump scare before the real jump scare. And that was good. So Missouri says, "This used to be your nursery, Sam. This is where it all happened." And Sam looks up at the ceiling. So he's obviously remembering what happened to Jess, and also he knows what happened to his mom, and his automatic knee-jerk reaction is to look up, which is both sad and scary, and made me feel so tense in this scene. I was just like, oh shit, what's going to happen now? Missouri's looking around the room, and Dean pulls out his EMF meter, and I put, this is a thirst trap, because he's scared, and that he's scared, but he came back to fight and to protect people because that's who he is. And I thought that was hot as fuck. So I put down that's thirst trap number 1 for me. And then Missouri looks at Dean and she says, "That an EMF?" And Dean's like, "Yeah." And Missouri says, "Amateur." And Dean glares at her and the EMF reader starts going off like crazy, and so the creep factor is just being ratcheted up and like ratcheted up. It's really well done.
Yeah. So this is when she kind of realizes that she says she thinks it's a poltergeist that's trying to kill the whole family that lives there now.
Mhm.
Um, and she says she can also sense another spirit, but she can't work out what it is. And
Yeah.
that's obviously Mary's spirit she can sense.
Yeah.
But we don't know that yet. And then the next note I have is the spell, ritual, cleansing, whatever they're doing. And I've written down, does Joy have anything to say about the witchiness of it?
I do. I do have things to say. So there was a build up to this ritual, and I'm just gonna read the build up a little bit, and then I'm gonna go
Okay.
into the really cool things. So Missouri says, they're here because of what happened to your family. You see, all those years ago, real evil came to you. It walked into this house. That kind of evil leaves wounds, and sometimes wounds get infected. This place is a magnet for paranormal energy. It's attracted a poltergeist, a nasty one, and it won't rest until Jenny and her babies are dead. And I just
Mm,
thought that was like really
yeah.
cool and really ominous. And I was like, that's a terrifying setup. Okay, that's a terrifying setup. So then we get to her doing her spell, and I thought this was fantastically done. So, firstly, she talks about they're going to put the spell bags into the walls, which are facing north, south, east, and west. Those are the cardinal points of the structure. And in witchcraft, that makes absolute sense because
Mm,
that would guarantee you protection and dominance over each one of those spaces, spiritually speaking. She says she's going to use angelica root, which that's correct too. Angelica root actually protects against demons and disease from a spiritual practitioner's point of view.
mm,
So I would use that if I was making up one of these bags. She then says van oil, and I had to look that up. So that's a hoodoo oil, and it is good luck, cleansing, uncrossing, and then she says crossroad dirt as well, and that is talking about like creating a liminal space between worlds where you can speak to spirits or potentially also control spirits, possibly like in terms of like if you're doing a spell like this, you have your crossroads, which is the liminal. That means you could call in your ancestors and the good
yeah.
spirits to fight away the bad spirits. So it's road opening, it's good
Oh,
luck
cool.
and things like that. So that's what she says it's in there. And then she says, and a few other odds and ends. But what I think is so cool about this episode um, is she is a Black Southern woman, and her practice is reflective of her heritage in such a beautiful way. And things
Hmm.
that are being referenced, like hoodoo, are not being used in a derogatory way, which is so often done in Hollywood and in horror. We'll see voodoo or hoodoo absolutely villainized.
Yeah.
And that's just pure
Yeah,
racism,
definitely.
and it's bullshit.
Uh-huh.
So it's so refreshing for me as a Southern woman and a practitioner to see a Black Southern character portrayed as like a good figure instead of a bad guy. Someone who's
Yeah.
powerful, and her practice in this episode, what she's doing spiritually, is actually what you would do. And it's also reflecting her heritage in a positive way, like a cool way. It's like a nod. And I thought that was so nice to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. And it does seem for a show that is was made in 2005 or started in 2005, there are so many other shows around the same sort of time who you watch it now and it's very problematic because all this kind of stuff wouldn't have been dealt with like properly.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see how this show has, they've kind of thought about that. They were kind of ahead of their time in a way about this kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah. And I think it's cool. Like I love that they didn't whitewash her practice. And I love that they place her as both an authority figure and a heroic figure. And I think that that's
yeah,
so cool. And it's nice to see hoodoo practices put forward in a positive healing light for once for once in our
he-
lives, especially in the context of a horror show. So I definitely felt like
yeah,
this is probably my favorite witch folklore breakdown, where I'm like, no, this is real, this is legit, this is correct. And it's like, yep, it ticks all the
cool.
boxes, this is all completely accurate.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There was a funny part in this though because Dean licks one of the things. I don't know if you noticed that. He
I
like
did
picks
not
something
notice
up and
that.
licks it.
Of course he does. Oh
But
my god, that's
he's like licks it
amazing.
and he's like, ugh.
Oh, that cracks me up. Okay. My next note is so they go back to the house with what's going on, and Missouri is saying, just take your kids to the movies or something and it'll all be over by the time you get back.
Yeah, so they do the actual kind of it's like an exorcism slash ritual thing,
Hmm.
but the spell.
So they're cleansing,
Um,
they're going to
and
cleanse the house. Yeah.
and this bit was like it was that same supernatural thing where it was scary and funny at the same time sometimes. But
Yeah.
it was actually really scary. So they start the cleansing and the poltergeist isn't happy. It starts like it traps Missouri by with like a dresser or something. Is she down in the basement, I think?
Yeah, so she went
And
alone in the
then
basement because she's brave. She is very brave, and she goes down there and it's all spooky ooky. And this like wardrobe
uh-huh.
thing, I don't know what it is, but it's like the size of the bottom of her body slides across the room and smashes into her and pins her up against the wall. And that is very
Yeah.
scary. And then the next scene, Dean is in the kitchen trying to put his bag into the wall, and he's there and knives start floating in the air and then they start flying at him. Dean, being the hot badass that he is, thinks very quickly and grabs the table, flips it over, and then these
uh-huh.
knives are just thudding into the table with
That
enormous
was
force
cool.
trying
I
to.
liked that bit.
That was really scary and really cool. Um, that's like a thirst trap combined with the scare. And then Sam gets choked by an electrical cable. So where he's trying to put his stuff in. So like we clearly see that the poltergeist is seeing and reacting to the measures that they're taking to get rid of it. And
Yeah.
it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So then Sam is like on the floor getting choked out, and Dean runs in and
Yeah.
shouting, "Sam!" Which, as we all know, is a thirst trap for me. Okay. Because anytime he's like, "Sam" or "Sammy," and he runs in to save his brother, it's a thirst trap because that's heroic and hot. Um, so he saves Sam. He pulls the cord off of his neck. He kicks a hole in the wall and puts the spell bag into the wall. And because they've all got it in place now, boom, there's like a bright white light as Missouri's spell blasts through the house. And we're thinking,
Yeah.
okay, so this is fixing the problem. Like we as the audience at this point are thinking the magic has done its job. Um, and
Uh-huh.
this is going to be okay. And then they're talking to Missouri, and Sam is saying to her, "Are you sure this is over?" And Missouri says, "I'm sure. Why? Why do you ask?" And Sam says, "Never mind." And then he sighs. And then he says, "It's nothing, I guess." And then they hear Jenny come in, and Jenny says, "Hi, we're home." And she looks around, and obviously everything is destroyed. Like this woman's house, this poor woman, she has been through so much. Okay. She's getting sued by the plumber. Her child got ate by the refrigerator. And then now she comes home and her entire house is wrecked. And Sam says, "Hi, sorry. We'll pay for all of this." And Dean looks kind of put out or confused. And Missouri says, "Don't you worry. Dean's gonna clean up this mess." And Dean stands there looking like, "What the fuck?" And Dean says, sorry, Missouri says, "Well, what are you waiting for, boy? Get the mop." And he kind of starts walking away. And she says, "And don't cuss at me." And Dean walks away muttering under
I
his
love that
breath.
bit.
Like the way she has his number. And she's just like, "Don't you back talk to me." I love it.
Yeah, because he was obviously just doing that in his head, but that was funny.
Yeah.
She could hear
Yeah, she can hear everything
him.
he's thinking. And she's just like, "Don't you back talk to me." It is so funny. I loved it. I loved every
Yeah.
minute of it. It was great.
So they then leave. So those three leave,
Mhm.
but they don't know that they've actually just made it worse. So we get the scene where Jenny goes to bed, and then the bed starts violently shaking, and that bit was really scary.
It was really scary. So
Yeah.
it's like she's in an earthquake and you think that thing is going to lift off, and then she
Mm.
screams, and then it's kind of like it's basically Sam's vision, isn't it? And then we got to think about like the
Uh
fact
huh.
that Sam was like questioning if it was over, and Missouri's like, "Yeah, it's definitely over," and Sam doesn't seem sure. And then immediately afterward this happens. Um, and then we realize that Sam and Dean are waiting out in the car. And Dean says, "All right, so tell me again, what are we still doing here?" And Sam says, "I don't know. I still have a bad feeling." And Dean's like, "Why?" Missouri did her whole Zelda Rubinstein thing. The house should be clean. It should be over, which is a reference to Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Yep, exactly. Um, so Sam says, yeah, well, probably, but I just want to make sure, that's all. And Dean says, yeah, well, problem is I could be sleeping in a bed right now. Dean has so much attitude. Like, he's been told off this entire episode. He's like, bitch, I just want to go to bed. And Sam looks up at Jenny's bedroom window and sees her screaming exactly like the dream. And Sam goes, Dean, look, Dean. And they rush out of the house. And Dean says, you grab the kids, I'll get Jenny. And Dean is immediately like hero mode, which is hot. Can I just say that is hot. They're running in to rescue them and save everybody.
Yeah, that is hot.
So then Dean's running in to save Jenny. He goes, Jenny, and Jenny's calling out from inside. She says, I can't open the door. And he says, stand back. And she moves back and he kicks the door down and brings her downstairs. And she says, no, my kids. And Dean says, Sam's got your kids. Come on. So then we cut and we see Sam is going into Sari's bedroom while carrying Richie. And she's... It is... Yeah, I knew that was coming. I was like, there's going to be a Sam thirst trap. So Sam goes to Sari's bed and picks her up in his other arm. And Sam's shouting, don't look, don't look. And they're leaving the bedroom. And then outside, Dean and Jenny rush out of the house. And then inside the house, Sam is running down the stairs with the kids. He puts them down. And then he says, and this is the exact same thing that his dad said to Dean. So this is a really cool echo, right? He says, all right, sorry, take your brother outside as fast as you can and don't look back. And then suddenly an invisible force starts attacking Sam. So the poltergeist is back and he's getting smashed around this room. Sari's screaming and running outside with Richie. So it's episode 1 all over again. Like the same thing is kind of repeating. They're running outside to Dean and Jenny. And Dean kneels down to Sari's and he's on her eye level. Like he's licking her. And he says, Sari, where's Sam? And Sari's crying. And she says, he's inside. Something's got him. And then we see the front door slam shut by itself. Like it's taken Sam and it's not going to give him back. And then, listen, I just hit myself in the face. I was so excited. That's the most autistic I've ever been on this podcast. I was like, okay. So Dean goes to the Impala, opens the trunk, and pulls out a rifle and an axe. This is the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life. He runs to the front door and starts chopping away at it, which is another reference to Laura.
The Shining.
It is another reference to The Shining. Here's Johnny. He is smashing this door in. Okay, so in the meanwhile, like while he's trying to break in, Sam's getting flown around. He's hitting cabinets. He manages to stand up, but then he's smashed against the wall by like the poltergeist. He can't really move. And then we see the fire figure, and I wrote down, like, this is such a great scene. I don't want to ruin it, but I wrote down the burn suit on this stunt person is so visible. Like, you can see the fire. They really obviously set someone on fire, which, like, respect the stunt double. Like, you are a legend, sir or ma'am. But the way we can see that with the edit and this, there's a total lack of CGI. We can just see the whole burn suit, and it kind of pulls you out of it a little bit. But that made me giggle, so I was like, that needs to go in there. So the fire figure is making its way towards Sam. Dean is smashing his way through this door, and it is hot as fuck. I might have to just make a whole thirst trap reel of Dean being all The Shining. Here's Johnny. Because
I did actually have that as a thirst trap as well.
Thank you. It's so sexy. There's nothing sexier. I swear somewhere in this house, because I'm being kind of loud right now, Nick's just listening to me be like, that's the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life. Feeling
You need to get him an axe.
I need to get him an axe. That's not a bad shout. Okay. So Dean runs in. Sam, again, we know this is a thirst trap for me. Anytime he's like, Sam, and he's saving Sam. So he finds Sam. And as he looks at the fire figure, he's raising the gun. And obviously we know this is rock salt at this point because Dean's learned, okay? He's learned from the Constance Welch experience that he needs rock salt and not bullets.
Ghosts.
Stop trying to shoot ghosts. What are you doing? So Dean's raising the gun and Sam says, no, don't. And Dean says, what, why? And Sam says, because I know who it is. I can see her now. And then the fire starts vanishing and we see that it's Mary. And Dean says, "Mom." And Mary smiles and steps closer to him. And Mary says, "Dean." And Dean, you see him like starting to cry, and it's very emotional. And Mary walks away from
Yeah.
him and goes over to Sam. And Dean is watching her. This and like he's not like he just his whole being is focused on her because this is his mom. And Sam is smiling and he's crying. And then Mary stops smiling and just says, "I'm sorry." And Sam says, "For what?" And she looks at him and she looks so sad, but she doesn't say anything. And then she walks away and she looks up at the ceiling and she says, "You get out of my house and let go of my son." And then she goes full Phoenix on this poltergeist ass. Like she's 100% engulfed in fire, and the fire's reaching up to the ceiling and just burning through everything. And when she does this, the force that's holding Sam is released, and he walks over to Dean and they're looking at each other stunned. And then Sam just says, "Now it's over."
Yeah.
And I thought that
Yeah.
was
Oh, it
like,
was really good.
it's so powerful. It's so cool
Uh-huh.
because you see Mary as like this badass avenging angel, and
Hmm.
she's exactly how I would expect their mom to be. Because when you think
Yeah.
about, like, who they are as people and how tough they are and how protective they are, you see that they definitely get half of that from Mary in this scene, where she's just like, "You get the hell
Uh-huh.
away from my kids." And then she just blasts his ass, and it's amazing, and I love it.
Yeah. I like how you called her a phoenix. Then that was cool.
I thought it was really cool imagery because she's destroyed by the fire, but then when her spirit stays to protect and guard, and
Yeah.
I think to try to find her boys, then it becomes her power. Like she takes it and she makes it her power, which in my opinion makes Mary Winchester a final girl. Even though she's dead,
Yeah.
she's like a dead final girl. She's an unstoppable force. And again, for the era, and for writing powerful female characters, I think that's really fucking cool. Like that's one of the coolest supernatural scenes that I think that I've seen. And it is
Yeah.
absolutely echoing the way that Dean and Sam are always saving each other. This is clearly a family trait, and I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah. I feel like I want to watch this scene again now with fresh eye, or like knowing what I know now, because
Yeah.
I was just really confused at this point because of the things we mentioned at the start. Because I was like, why, if the fire like monster in the cupboard is Mary, why was it scaring the little girl before? But now we've kind of discussed that, and I want to kind
Yeah.
of watch it now, like understanding it properly,
Yeah.
because I think that is powerful. But I didn't get that at the time when I first watched it because I was still confused about what
That's
was going
fair.
on.
That's fair. I think it'll be a really good rewatch. I would watch it again, honestly. Like maybe we'll watch it again after this or something because it's such a good
Yeah.
episode.
I like how, so now looking at it from like, she was like, she died in that house, but her spirit is sticking around because there's other evil spirits there, and she's there to protect. So
Yeah.
if she hadn't been there, this poltergeist might have already killed the family that were there now,
Yeah, and if
or like
you
families in the past.
exactly, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like when Missouri says, "I've been keeping an eye on it, and there hasn't been anything really evil since your mom's death." And we go, "Okay, because of Mary, probably. She's probably been there
She's
this
still
whole
there.
time, suppressing it, pinning it down, stopping it."
Yeah,
And then, she is a mom and she'll do anything for her sons. So when her sons are there and they're in real danger, she's like, "I'm about to take this bitch nuclear." And then she does.
yeah. So we're getting towards the end now, aren't we?
We
So
are.
Missouri says she's explaining to Sam and Dean that their mum's spirit, that Mary's spirit and the poltergeist cancelled each other out, and she
Mhm.
destroyed herself in order to save them. Um, so she's kind of explaining it to them, which is nice. And then we have a little bit between Sam and Missouri where they're kind of discussing his visions, and that made me think. I'm like, is she? Hopefully, she'll be in it again at some point, because I think she mentioned something at the end as well, where she's like, "I'll see you around" or something, or she says, "I'll see you." And I was like, I
Yeah.
hope so, because I think she could probably maybe even help Sam understand, because he's obviously got some sort of psychic thing going on, and
Yeah.
she has as well.
Yeah. Yeah, she says, "Don't you boys be strangers," and Dean says, "We won't." Because he does love her. Like, she's giving him a hard time, but he does love her. Everyone loves Missouri. And Missouri says, "See you
Yeah.
around." And yeah, I agree. I think that's foreshadowing. I'm not going to give you spoilers, but I'm going to say that that line is foreshadowing.
Okay. I hope she's back. I like her.
Yeah, I love her too.
So then she goes back to her house, doesn't she? And this is where, so when I watched it the second time, because obviously I watched it twice for the notes.
Mhm.
Once to watch it, once for the notes. I could sense something here. I was like, I bet their dad's there.
Yeah.
And he is.
Yeah.
And this is where I think she walks in and she's kind of talking to him, but I think it's because she could sense that he was there or read his mind or whatever. I don't think she knew he was there the whole time. I think he's like just arrived.
No, now
But
that
that's
you said
my
that, I
how I
agree
want to
with
look at
you.
it.
Yeah. Now that you've said that, I agree with you. I don't think he was there. I think he turned up because Dean called him and that's when he arrived. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Although, actually, because I did write down the quote, but this quote I'm now actually going to go against my own my
No.
own theory, because she says, "That boy, he has such powerful abilities, but why he couldn't sense his own father, I have no idea." Oh,
Ah,
unless it's still
no,
because
I have a
she
theory.
can now sense him as well.
Yeah, no, I have a theory about this. So I'm going to read you the scene to give our listeners
Okay.
context. And then I'm going to tell you what my theory is. So they go into Missouri's house. Missouri comes inside and she puts her purse down. And Missouri says, "That boy, he has such powerful abilities, but why he couldn't sense his own father, I have no idea," like you just said. And then the camera pans over to the other couch where the boys were sitting before, and John Winchester is sitting there now. I think that he only just showed up, but I think they crossed over each other so that as Sam and Dean are leaving, John is coming in. That's like crossing paths, but in different
Uh,
locations. And she's saying, "Well, Sam is so powerful. I don't understand why he couldn't sense his own father," meaning that they had crossed paths with each other, but he didn't know. But
yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think that, I
Yeah.
think this is the first time that Missouri both sees and senses John Winchester here in the present. And then
Yeah.
John says, "Mary's spirit, do you really think she saved the boys?" And Missouri says, "I do." And John is so sad. Um, and that's when she says, "John Winchester, I could just slap you. Why don't you go talk to your children?" And it says,
Yeah.
John, tearfully, "I want to. You have no idea how much I want to see them, but I can't. Not yet. Not until I know the truth." And then they share this significant look between each other. And then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. It's a very abrupt end. Like
It is a
literally,
very
he
abrupt.
finishes talking and it
Yeah.
just cuts. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Also, how if John says, read John's line again,
Okay. He
because I just
says,
thought of something.
"I want to. You have no idea how much I want to see him, but I can't. Not yet. Not until I know the truth."
Oh no, wait, sorry. Before that,
Oh,
the bit about Mary when the first thing he says.
"Mary's spirit, do you really think she saved the boys?" And then Missouri says,
See,
"I
so
do."
how if he hasn't already spoken to Missouri, how did he know that had happened,
You
or has
raise a good
he
point.
been watching?
You raise a good point because they must have had a conversation prior to the scene then for him to know that.
Yeah, although she only just came back from there as well, so
Unless did
she
they
wouldn't have known.
text each other?
Maybe, I don't know.
I feel
Maybe
like
it's just one of those writing things that's we're
yeah,
just picking apart too much.
maybe so.
Or me. I'll call myself out. It's me.
Well, I mean, you are very good at picking up on plot holes, and we were just trying to find.
I'm the continuity person.
You are the continuity person. We're trying to understand the continuity of the scene. Um, I can see that in the notes from the website is a deleted scene. I don't know if that puts more context on it.
I wonder if that was with those two.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I'm not reading it because it's not part of what happened in the episode, but
Yeah.
it might be that
Or it
there's a
could be where
deleted
they
scene.
abruptly cut at the end. There could have been something else after that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know if it ends that way because there was more and they made a decision to cut what was there and felt like it was good enough as it stood. Um, my assumption
Yeah.
previously to these conversations was that they knew that, like, obviously she knows that John's okay and she probably can communicate with John. Um, but maybe she
Yeah.
hadn't done that when we're in the first scenes, but then maybe after Dean makes the phone call and it's sort of partway through towards the end of that episode, maybe John has called her before,
Yeah.
and then maybe she answers the phone on her way back from the house and tells him what's happened. And then when they start having this conversation when she walks in, it's like a continuation of that conversation. That's the only thing that makes any sense to me.
Maybe, yeah. But anyway, I'm not mad at Missouri. I don't blame her. I do think that John, as we discussed at the start, could have spoken to his kids because, first of all, I don't understand, obviously, because I haven't watched the whole show, what he needs to know the truth about first.
Yeah.
But also, aren't the boys are trying to find the truth as well? So why can't they do that together?
Yeah.
But I did also have a thirst trap because I'm sorry, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan is hot.
Fair enough. Yeah, he is. Um, so my note for this scene is after she says, John Winchester, I could just slap you. I wrote, so say we all. So say we all.
Yeah, I would have slapped him too.
It's so annoying. It's so frustrating. So I think that they are weaving together a sense of menace around Sam and what happened to Sam. Because we have this moment where
Ah.
Mary says, I'm sorry. She says, I'm sorry to Sam. Not to Sam and Dean, but specifically
Yeah.
to Sam right before she goes atomic bomb on the bad guy, right? She knows she's about to sacrifice herself. And she apologizes to Sam,
Uh-huh.
who's the kid who, for whatever reason, has these abilities. So then that makes us ask the question, like, did he inherit that from Mary? Is Mary tied to that? Um, what
Yeah.
happened that
Or maybe so
you go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe he's got abilities because Dean doesn't have abilities, it's only Sam.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something that had happened, like they, I don't know, had some sort of agreement with something.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Because why is he's got like magical abilities and Dean doesn't.
Uh-huh.
And he was a
Exactly.
baby.
Uh-huh. Exactly. And she
Mm.
says sorry to him before she ends everything, right? So then um
Yeah.
So then, because you know there's not going to be a further conversation with her and her kids, so you know she's chosen to sacrifice herself to protect her boys, and that's the only thing that she can say. So what she's saying is really significant. And then right at the end with their dad says, I really want to see them more than anything in the world, but I have to know the truth before I see them, right? And so
Hmm.
Sam has these like visions of people dying before they
Yeah.
die. Missouri, who's hella psychic, who can read people's thoughts by just being in the room with him, says that Sam is more powerful than she is.
Uh-huh.
So it's setting us up. It's creating a foreshadowing type of like hints that something is happening and that the separation and the tension between Sam and his dad has something to do with what happened to Mary and all of the weirdness surrounding Sam.
Hmm. Okay. So my prediction then is that Mary did something, and that's why she died, and why Sam has abilities.
So
Don't tell me if I'm right or not,
I'm not going to
because
say anything.
spoilers. But
I would never spoiler it like that. I think that's a really interesting prediction. I think that's a really good prediction. I actually can't remember exactly how it went down because it's been a while and you don't find out everything until later on. So I don't
yeah,
even think I could give you well, I could give you some spoilers, but um I'm not sure if I can remember exactly how that part went down. So I think it's a
because
very solid call.
that's one of my biggest questions that I've had right from the beginning is why did this even start in the first place? Like,
Yeah.
why was Mary killed
Yeah.
if they weren't like any sort of if there wasn't any sort of supernatural stuff before she died? Why did it happen to her? So that's like my
Exactly.
biggest question.
Yeah. Villain, hot or not, the villain was, I guess, the poltergeist.
Yeah.
Arguably, maybe John Winchester for not showing up for his kids. Um,
Okay, well, John Winchester, yes. Poltergeist, no.
yeah, I mean, the poltergeist we never even see, and also it's an evil son of a bitch, so it's not hot. John Winchester. I'm going to
Invisible
argue that
and evil.
he's kind of the villain in this episode, because he makes my precious angel baby Dean so sad, and he doesn't turn up, so
Aw.
therefore he's the villain. But the thing is he's also hot. John Winchester's hot. What can we say?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so we have a yes and a no on this one. The motel was super like janky looking from what we see of the motel. Like there's actually even like rusted parts to it. So I give it a 0
I
out
have
of
a note
10.
about the motel.
What
I
is
have
your
a note
note?
about the motel,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I can't remember because hang on, let me see if I can find it. Because I feel like it was near the beginning. Um oh yeah, I put this motel room looks exactly the same as an earlier one from a previous episode. I
I
think it's the one. Well, I think they just look similar, but I think it was just how the scene was shot as well. They were in the same position, which made me think it was the same. I don't think it was actually the same
yeah.
motel room.
I put down that it had creepy gothic looking curtains. Like there's like black floral or like really dark floral curtains. And then there's some kind of like metal, I don't know, art installation in the room, but it's rusted. Like it's actually like they made the motel look
Ah,
haunted and weird and creepy.
yeah,
And I felt like that was part of the episode kind of mood.
yeah,
Um so this one was a super janky motel because like there's rust in their actual room. Therefore, it is the jankiest of all the motel
yeah.
rooms that I've seen so far. I would not stay there.
What was your scare rating?
Um this one I think is like a 7.5 for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I put 8
Yeah.
because it was scary, like the creepy monkey thing. I mean, poltergeists because they can move things around, so I had to put, it's like the actual haunting itself isn't as scary. It's more what it can move and like the chair moving, the bed shaking, the monkey clapping the
The
cymbals. They're more scary.
knives, the knives
Oh yeah,
being thrown, and then Missouri getting smashed into that wall, and then you have Sam
yeah.
getting strangled by that electrical cord. Like the scares are. I'm gonna change my rating to a 9. Actually, thinking about it, I'm gonna give it a 9. And
Okay.
then poor Joe the plumber with his like liquefied arm. That was horrible. That was
Yeah,
so
that was bad.
scary.
Uh-huh. Um, what's your favourite quote?
My favorite quote has to be a Missouri quote, which when she says,
Yeah,
get your, if you put your foot on my coffee table, I'm gonna beat you with a spoon." Like,
yeah,
that was so
yeah.
funny.
That's good. Mine was a Missouri one as well because I just put everything Missouri says, but I chose one which was the "You were one goofy looking kid too."
Oh my god, yeah, that's so good. That one was so funny.
But it could have been like the John Winchester, I could slap you. Like there were so many. Anything she said was just funny.
Everything Missouri says is amazing. She's an incredible character. I love her so much.
What was your main thirst trap?
Dean with the axe going all the shining on that door to save Sam. What was yours?
Here's Dean.
Here's Dean.
Sam saving the kids.
Yeah, that was good too. That was very, very good. And I totally agree with that one. I can't wait to see our graphics for the thirst traps and like the polls for this one because I feel like we're gonna really divide people because those are both really good moments.
I feel like all of them so far have been quite. We've had comments of people saying, "Yeah, that's a tough choice" and things like that.
Yeah. We're definitely picking the strongest thirst traps in the episodes. It's a skill we have. It's not a transferable life skill, sadly, but it's a skill we have.
Not going to put that one on our CV.
No, can pick out the best thirst traps from any given supernatural episode. Shall we end it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.